Okay, so part 2 odds is this video. Obviously, all the other videos will be posted, and you can find whatever you need in terms of prep. This is the with calculator section of the review. Find the discriminant. Ooh, the discriminant. Do you remember what the discriminant is?
Stuff inside of the square root.
It's the stuff inside the square root. That's a great way to remember it. It has a formula, but yeah, it's the stuff inside the square root. Not including the square root, just the stuff inside the square root. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. And it tells you the number and type of solutions. And you don't even have to really memorize that. If you know the quadratic formula and you know the discriminant, then you can figure out the number and type of solutions. Let's see. I can't do that until I have it equal to 0. So I'm going to move the 7r squared over to make the a positive.
What does it mean type of solution? Is that like imaginary or real?
Type means imaginary or real. Yep. So b squared would be 100 minus 4ac. And remember, we have a calculator, so we don't have to worry about messing this up, I hope. Negative 68 is the discriminant. And again, you can memorize what that means, or you can just understand where the meaning comes from by looking at the equation for solutions, the quadratic equation, the quadratic formula. So I'd have plus or minus the square root of negative 68. So yeah, that means I'm going to have two imaginary solutions.
We're only doing the odds, right?
We're only doing the all of them are assigned. I'm only doing the odds in this video.
Yeah. Will the packet be due tomorrow or Friday?
The packet will be due Friday. That's a good question, because I want you to...
Procrastination.
I don't want you to procrastinate. That's not why it's due Friday. Ideally, hear me out, although you could figure this however you want, but ideally you'd have it all done by tomorrow. But I do know that, like, legitimately, some of you will want to have it to study Thursday night to prepare for the Friday part of the test. So, no, I'm not going to take it from you Thursday. I'll take it up Friday. But you should definitely have the no calculator part done by tonight. That way you're prepared for tomorrow's part of the test. All right, back to this. So what are my other options here? So if it's negative, that means there's two imaginary solutions. How would there be one real solution? If it's 0, if the discriminant is 0, because then you'd have plus or minus 0. And then the last possibility is if it's positive, then you have two real solutions. So that's the little table, but you don't really memorize that, because if you understand the formula and what the discriminant does in the formula, then you can come up with those sort of automatically. It's not a memorized thing. All right, 29. Solve each equation with the quadratic formula. And again, we've got a calculator here, so I'm thinking decimal answers, and I'm not going to mess up any math here. I do need to move everything over, and probably wise to put it in the right format, like x squared, x, and then no x's. Because if you could write it any way you want, but then you might mix up who's A and who's B and who's C. And that happened, not often, but it happened a couple times on the quiz for people. If you write it in the wrong order, then sometimes you get A, B, and C mixed up. Okay. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
So wait, we can just do root 180 in the calculator, right?
Yes. Except, wait, that's not root 180 though, right? I do like doing the inside first, because that'll tell me what kind of solutions I've got going on.
Oh, I did plus.
Plus, if I do the square root of a negative number, the calculator's not going to like that. So, 36 minus 4 times 9 times 4 is negative 108. see, negative 6 plus or minus I. What can I do with 108? It certainly looks like it's divisible by 4. And again, you got the calculator, so this shouldn't be too bad to figure these out.
Well, that one's also divisible by 9.
Sure is. So that's 4 times 27,
That's 3 root 12.
but that's 4 times 9 times 3.
Root 6. 6 root 3.
So careful. The 4 and the 9 can have a square root. The 3 does not. So 6 root 3. 6I root 3 even. Over 18.
Let's just divide them all by 6.
And let's divide them all by 6.
Calculator the multiples and the number.
Negative 1 plus or minus I root 3.
Go to the graph.
Maybe graph something divided by x.
That's the number divided by
Yeah.
What's that? Are you looking for the calculator way to find the factors?
If you go to graph and you do like 108 divided by x,
Yep, that's the kind of the cheat code for finding factors.
and Control T, it has the table.
And you go to table and you can find the factors. Yep. And again, with the calculator, that's fine. 31. Solve each system of equations. Let's see. So system means there's more than one. I'm going to have to plug in one to the other. Graphing and finding the intercept. That would not work for this one because we don't know how to graph with the y squared. There is a way, but it's really way more complicated than we want to mess with.
Let's just solve that.
What would you like to solve for? Yeah, you're right. Y would be easier to solve for just looking at the second equation, but also looking at the first equation, x would be a better choice. So, I mean, either would work, but x would be the far better choice because I don't have to square it when I plug it in. So 2x equals negative y minus 4. X equals negative 1/2 y minus 2. When I divide everybody by 2. So I can replace x with all of that. 2y squared minus 4 times negative 1/2 y minus 2. And then don't forget the rest of this. Minus 2y minus 8 equals 0. Okay, I feel like I've done all the hard stuff. Now let's just be careful on distributing and collecting like terms and negatives.
Wait, I just got 2.
Did I mess something up, or you're up ahead of me?
We're way ahead of you.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what happens here. The 2 y's cancel out. The 8's cancel out. And 2y squared equals 0.
Which means y.
That's kind of weird, but it's kind of good.
Minus.
Y's got to be 0. I mean, I can divide by 2, and I can square root both sides, but eventually y equals 0. So that means x equals negative 1/2 times 0 minus 2, which means x is negative 2. But I don't like that as an answer yet.
Negative 2, 0.
Let's write them as an ordered pair. This one, you'd be okay, I guess, because there's only one answer. It's when you get 2 x's and 2 y's that you really need to write them as an ordered pair so that I know which x goes with which y. And remember, like graphically, there's how you get 2 x's and 2 y's. If a line intersects a parabola like that, there's 2 answers. We only got one answer, which means we're like on a tangent line somehow. Like that. Or the axis of symmetry. I don't think it's the axis of symmetry because that would be straight up and down or straight left and right. But it is a possibility. 33. Oh, another one. Let's see. Which variable would you like to solve for? X, right? That way I don't have to square it. It's also the easier one to solve for, so double win here.
Do elimination there.
if you just double the x.
This one you could do elimination on. Yeah, I think we've talked about that before. Like it's pretty rare that one works out for elimination, but this one would. You'd multiply the second equation by 2, and then add them together, and your x's would go away, and you'd have it. You can pursue that route, and that's fine. I'm going to just stick with substitution, even though elimination might be better for this one. 3y squared minus 2 times 3y minus 4 minus 15y plus 56 equals 0. So 3y squared minus 6y plus 8 minus 15y plus 56 equals 0. Alright, collect like terms. 3y squared minus 21y. 64. 64 is not divisible by 3.
Wait,
Right?
can't we just do the thing where like we factor out the 3 but like leave the 64 aside?
Oh, you're talking about.
Okay, so that would be the method of completing the square. Yes, you could do that.
Because then if you take the square root, it's going
Has to be a decimal.
But
Or we could quadratic.
we could try to factor it, or we could go quadratic formula.
Quadratic formula.
So there's 3 options here.
Not quadratic formula is ugly. It's like the square root of -3.
Yeah, because you're going to get b squared is already ugly. 21 squared minus 4ac. That's going to be awful.
Well, with the calculator, complete the square might not be that bad. Which one would you do?
I would probably try to factor first.
Factoring does not work. I tried.
You'd have to have 2. They have to both be negative.
Well, I don't think 3 multiplied by
3y and y have to go together.
What if factors 64?
8.
8 and 8, that wouldn't do it.
16, yeah, 32 and 2.
32 and 2 doesn't sound like a good option.
4 doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
That wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's not going to work. All the factors of 64 are even, which means you're always going to get an even number out of 21. So it doesn't factor, so that method's out.
So quadratic.
So quadratic formula it is, unless you want to complete the square. And then you got 64 thirds to deal with.
Actually, yeah, no.
And half of 21 and squaring that. That doesn't look much fun either. So y equals negative b plus or minus the square root. Glad I have a calculator.
Oh gosh.
I like the game.
Scooper narrating his work over there.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it's ugly, but we do have a calculator, so.
It's going to be imaginary.
Oh, wow, we definitely weren't going to be able to factor that, right? Because my discriminant is imaginary. I'm backing up, making sure I did all this right.
Yeah, you could do it.
Oh, I did this right. In fact, this is actually okay because usually we're okay with imaginary numbers, but let's think big picture here. What am I looking for when I'm trying to solve that? What does it mean to find the solution of a system of equations?
So you're just looking for 0.
The variables.
Variables, like graphically, what am I looking for?
Intercept.
Where they intersect.
because they don't intersect on a real thing.
But if I get an imaginary number, they're not going to intersect.
So that
So it's just no solution.
But imagine the solution.
So if you want to say no solution, you better say no real solution. And we're okay with that because we're looking for an intersection.
What you're saying is right.
And what I'm saying is there's not one. That's right. Let's see, y squared would be a left-right parabola. I mean, it's easy to envision a line in a parabola where there's not an intersection. That can happen.
Y squared.
Okay, this is kind of dangerous because we're okay with no real solution on this problem, but only because it's a graphing problem. Like at kind of the heart of it, I'm looking for an intersection. If we just started with, phrase it this way, if we just started with that equation with y's in it and it wasn't a system, then we'd need to keep going and figure out something about 327.
I'm just gonna keep going every time.
Is that 327 is divisible by 9, maybe? Nope. So I don't know what you could do with 327. But it doesn't matter because there's no real solutions. There's no real intersection. We're looking for an intersection. Word problems. Let's see. Draw a graph and or picture to represent the situation. Show all appropriate attributes. Round to the nearest thousandth when necessary. A rectangle is 6 centimeters long and 5 centimeters wide. It's like, all right, well, that's easy enough. There's no unknowns there. 6 by 5. When each dimension is increased by x, the area is tripled. Find x. Okay, so
So the normal area is just 30.
normal area is 30. Yeah, there's lots of things we could do to start this problem. The normal area is 30. We increased each dimension by x, but not x on each end. This is not like the walkway around the pool or the margin around the page. This is just extending each dimension x in one direction, I guess, making it longer by x.
And then our new area is y, right?
Well, what's an expression for our new area? How about that? Well, one side is to say it's 30 times 3. That's true.
35 plus 3, 5 plus x, 6
But what about the equation side, Jackson?
5 plus x times 6 plus x.
We're still doing length times width. So 5 plus x times 6 plus x. That's the new area.
So it's equal to 90.
Is equal to 90 because we knew it was tripled and we knew the original was 30.
So, but we already have our factors. Yeah.
We do have, I'm glad you said that, we do have our factors, but that's only good when the equation is equal to 0. So I can't say 5 plus x equals 90 and 6 plus x equals 90. Don't do that. That only works if there's a 0 over there. So I've got to sort of blow this side up, move the 90 over, and then refactor, if it'll factor. So 30, it's not horrible, plus 11x plus x squared equals 90. I'm going to move some things around because I don't like how that looks. X squared plus 11x minus 60 equals 0. And if I know my factors of 60, that thing factors. 15 and 4. But again, you've got to know your factors in order to factoring. So 15 and 4 plus 15 and minus 4. So x equals negative 15 and x equals 4. Find x.
I think it has to be 4 because you can't go by a negative 1.
Yeah, you can't increase your side length by negative 15. Right? That would be like somehow drawing a backwards negative, I don't know. I can't rewrite. So mathematically it would work because you'd have two negative sides. You multiply them, you get a positive number. But in real life, you can't have negative side lengths. So you're right. We got to throw out the negative 15. We're not doing 36, but you can see that it's similar, except that, I mean, it starts with a 5 by 7, but it's extending all sides because there's a frame or a border around that. Do plus 2x, yeah, on each of them, because you've got x on either side. 37. Using the falling object model, h equals negative 16 t squared plus 81. Find the time it takes an object to hit the ground. Oh, that's kind. They even reminded you that means h is 0. When it is dropped from a height of h of 81. So h0 is 81, but we kind of knew that already from the picture. Find the time it takes to hit the ground. So h equals 0.
Could be.
So you could just plug in 0 for h. Is that what you were going to say, or were you going to propose something else?
I was gonna say maybe over the 16 square root.
I just got 2.25.
16t squared equals 81. T squared equals 81 over 16.
59.4.
T equals, you can take the square root of both of those, so that was nice.
So it's just 2.25 seconds.
Why not plus or minus 9/4? Right, this is like, how much time did it take? Well, it didn't hit the ground 2 seconds before you dropped it. That'd be weird. Okay, Ryan, I wasn't ignoring you. You said you got 2.25.
Yes.
Where'd that come from?
I did 81 divided by 16 and took the square root of that.
And that's fine because, well, for a couple reasons. One is you have a calculator, so you're welcome to use it. The other thing is it says round to the nearest thousandth, if necessary, but you've got a calculator, so I'm okay with 9/4 or 2.25. That's it. I was going to go with the calculator method, just because if it's harder, you might be better. Plus, you can see what's happening. Window's going to be messed up, I'm sure. Oh, there's 2.25 seconds, right, where it hits the ground. But my window, I know it hits the ground in 2 seconds. Y max, oh, I know it starts at 81, so may as well go up to like 90. There we go.
And you can do the zeros then.
So then I could do the zeros. So second calc 0. Left bound means get to the left of the 0. Right bound get to the right of the 0. And then guess. Hey, 2.25. What do you know? That one was pretty easy without the calculator. But if we gave you a harder problem, then the calculator might have been more helpful. It also helps you visualize it. Oh yeah, this thing does indeed start at 81 and crosses at 2.25. And you can kind of make sense of where the negative 2.25 comes from, even though that's not really part of the problem. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. I probably will have to do this one in all the classes, not just the odd video class. It is like that on the test. I'll warn you or tell you or whatever. The test is pretty similar in that it gives you an equation and then asks, 14, maybe not 14, 2, 4, 6, 7 questions about it. A model rocket is launched straight up, or straight up in this case. The rocket was 160 feet high after 1 second of launch. And I'm peeking ahead. This looks like a table of values here. So after 1 second, it was 160 feet high. After 2 seconds, it was 287 feet. And after 3 seconds, it was 382 feet. Find the quadratic function to represent this equation. As long as you can remember stat, you're probably good enough to figure it out from there. So stat for sure, and then what next? Do you remember how to put those points in? I want to edit.
What do you do with
Y was
287, 382.
287.
Okay, let me go ahead and say this. It looks like most of you have your calculator out and are putting them in. every year there's going to be 2 people, usually maybe just 1, per class on this problem on the test. They're like, Mr. Wolf, how do I put this in the calculator? And I'm going to whisper back to them, trying not to be too sarcastic, and say, the same way you did it in class. Inside laughing, because I know they didn't do it in class. So don't be that guy. Like, you have to know where the buttons are. That's part of the test. Stat gets you there, and most of the time you can figure it out from there. So stat edit, put them all in, then exit out of there, and then go back in. And now I want to do some stuff. I want to calculate some things. What do I want to calculate? A quadratic regression. Quadratic meaning y equals x squared. Regression means fit a line to that. And if we want to be fancy, you can store the equation into y1. That way you don't have to write them all down and transfer them over or save them one at a time. You can tell the calculator, hey, you stick them in y1 for me, please. So you want y1. Y1's a variable. So what button should I hit if I want a variable? The variable button. Vars. I want a vars, please. I want a y vars. And we haven't done anything with parametric polar on off. We want just a function. And then there it is, y1.
We want 2 variable or 1 variable?
Y equals variable.
1 variable or 2 variable?
I think you're looking at the wrong thing. Stat, calculus. No, you don't want 1 or 2 variable stat. We want a quadratic regression.
Oh, regression.
And then, now I got to go back and do y vars again. Vars. And then calculate. And it will tell me A, B, and C. This one's nice because everything's nice and neat there. Find the quadratic function. So negative 16x squared plus 175 plus 1. 175x. Okay, so now let's see what we can make sense of all of those things. Oh, maybe I should write this down for those that are studying later. Stat edit is how you put the stuff in.
Yeah, I should probably write this down too.
Stat calc quadratic regression. Some of you people memorizing button keystrokes, I guess that's fine. Okay, how high was it when it was launched?
1 foot.
How do you know that?
That's what the y-intercept is.
Yeah, it's 0.
X is 0.
Okay, a couple ways to say that. That means when t equals 0, like when it was launched, x equals 0, y equals 1. Do you also remember what the number by itself represents? We kind of just answered this. The y-intercept, or h0, the starting height. Okay, before we go on, it's probably the next question, but what's 175 represent? Do you remember what number or what that is?
Velocity.
It's the initial velocity. Be careful, it's the starting velocity. So this thing launched from 1 foot with an initial velocity of 175, and then anything else we can plug in and find. How high was the rocket 5 seconds after launch?
21.6.
Where'd that come from?
Control tab.
I want y of 5.
Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong one.
476
No,
So I can plug in 5 on my own. I could go to the table and find 5. I can also do y vars y1 at 5. But however you get there, the answer is 476. There's at least 3 ways. Table, plug in 5, let the calculator plug in 5. I suppose you could also do it on the graph if you wanted to look at the graph. What is the maximum height of the rocket? Where is the maximum height? What do we call that point where it's at its maximum? Vertex. Okay, I'm gonna cheat and use the calculator. It's not cheating because I'm allowed to use the calculator.
How'd you get
right? That's not much of a window.
What do we say? Just do Zoom Fit. Zoom Fit.
Zoom Fit. Okay, so Zoom Fit,
Then you sit.
yes or no on Zoom Fit?
It works for this one.
What's in the graph?
Yeah.
Zoom Fit will put it on there. It's just a lot of times, oh, that's not
Worked for me.
what I want to see.
That works.
Why did mine not work? I'm just special, I guess.
But mine's like really easy.
Zoom Fit.
What?
Yeah, and mine didn't do it.
I need to zoom out.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Just 'cause you're
just as well, I got to zoom out. Definitely on the X, but probably also on the Y. So X max 3. No, I definitely need to go more than that. I know that at time 5 I'm at 476, so I definitely need to go higher than that. I don't really need any negative Y values because that's like underground. That doesn't make sense.
What do we round to?
3 decimals.
Oh, shoot. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Wait, we're supposed to get decimals for that?
If there are decimals, I don't know. Okay, there's 2 ways to find the vertex. There's the algebra way. How do I find the x coordinate of the vertex the algebra way?
Negative b over 2a. Right?
Yep.
I'll turn it.
How do I find the vertex using the calculator?
You
Click a
max.
Second calc,
You find the max.
and there's maximum. Like, great, that's exactly what I want.
Why does mine look like this?
Left down, right down, guess.
I don't know what I did wrong. Oh, my.
Okay, I have to be careful here. What's,
Reset you.
I got 2 points there. What does the first point mean? 5.46.
seconds.
That's seconds. What's the second point mean? That's the height. So the maximum height
Am I good now?
Yeah.
is the y value of the vertex,
4 and you can go through zoom in.
479.516.
Yeah, my graph is wrong.
When was it at the maximum height? That would be the x value of the vertex, which is negative b over 2a, or 5.469.
Mr. Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
with my calculator, when I put it into the y1 function, it says it's 14.99999, and then 174.99999, and 0.0999. It's a lot of 999s.
That's a lot of 999s. That's close enough, right?
Yeah, but my answer was like different by like 10 decimals.
On the 10th decimal,
It is different. It was like 479.451.
it should be accurate to as far as we want to see it.
Mine just says 480.
Yeah, 479.
480.
479.516.
I got.
I think it depends on the calculator's like set.
Well, let's do this the long way then. Negative b over 2a would be 175 over 16. Wait, what is it? Oh, over 2a. 175 divided by 32. 5.46875. That's what the graph showed. And then if I want the y value there, right, your calculator is amazing. It knows function notation. Find the y value at 5.46875. That's 479.516. So to the nearest 3 decimals, I'm still good. Although I guess I put mine in as mine has all the decimals. Like, I can't imagine it matters. Bars. Y2. Oh, that's definitely not right. Oh, because I did of the answer, not of Y2. That guy. Still 479.516. So you should be accurate to 3 decimals, whether your calculator throws in the .99999 stuff or whether it rounds it correctly.
So why am I not?
You did something wrong.
I would go back and check and see if you punched something in wrong. Speaking of punching things in wrong, what's going to happen if you type in one of these initial data points wrong?
Your equation's wrong.
Your whole thing is messed up. So you've got to make sure that that's in there correct. Maybe if you're getting weird answers, you go back and look. Stat, edit. 1 is 160, 2 is 287, 3 is 382. So I'm feel good about my answers.
Press delete. And I go back to it.
Well, it's not zero.
All right, when does it hit the ground? What does it mean, hit the ground? What would I be looking for?
Y is 0.
When y equals 0, I should be able to find that on my graph, except this particular graph I didn't go far enough, so I need to look further on the x-axis here. 15, that's probably too far, but as long as I see it, it's all that matters. So there's where it hits the ground, right there.
10.
So second calc 0. Left bound, right bound, yes, 10.943.
Why is Y such a weird
Why is the y value such a weird number? Oh, your calculator is doing things with decimals. It's not doing things algebraically. It's doing things numerically. So yeah, that looks like a weird number, but 1.34 times 10 to the negative 10th. So if you wrote that out,
That's basically 0.
that's basically 0, right? Because it'd be 0.00000000001. That's pretty close to 0.
Could be closer.
Your calculator has like a built-in tolerance for finding a 0, because if you wanted to find exactly 0 numerically, it would take it longer. It'd have to keep guessing, more and more and more accurate. And so your calculator is saying, hey, that's close enough to 0. Let's roll with that. And certainly if we want our answer to 3 decimal places, I'm pretty sure we're accurate to 3 decimal places. Rena.
My calculator, it just stops at 10.9.
Do you have,
Mine does as well.
Inspires, they round up to the highest section.
are you on an Inspire? Ooh,
Let me try and figure it out. All right.
I don't know how to fix that.
I think it's in the settings.
So find somebody who can fix it, or grab an 84.
Display digits. Quote 4.
Wait, Jeff.
All right, last one. When was it 300 feet high? How am I going to figure out when it's 300 feet high?
You put the equation Y and find the 2 intercepts.
I think that's the best way to go. When is it 300 feet high?
It doesn't matter. Setting, document setting.
Well, let's graph y equals 300 and see what happens.
Make it display float 4.
Okay, it looks like it's 300 feet high 2 different times. How can I find where those 2 graphs intersect?
Wait, how did
Second calc intersect.
you just do that?
What? What happened?
Did you
Second calc, whoops. Second
try
calc,
and make it how you just did it?
intersection.
For each decimal place?
It walks you through, but it defaults correctly. First curve, enter.
Y equals
Second curve, enter. And then go find whichever intersection you want. I'm going to do them in order, so I'm going to do this one first.
and then we'll use so maybe
2.119. This would be another place where it's trying to get to 300, but maybe it only gets to 299.9999999999999. Close enough. Second calc, intersection, first curve, second curve, but now I want to go to the other intersection.
Oh, wait, I counted 30.
8.818.
There we go. This is
But that's okay. Thank you for working these with me, because that's when you figure out the little finger flubs and where all the buttons are. I'm not answering these questions on test day. Oh, how do I find the intersection?
Please tell me there's only one of these.
Do it like we did in
I'm gonna
class.
have to be helping Cody because Cody
Okay, there's 2. One of them where you have to find the equation and then answer a bunch of questions, and one of them where it gives you the equation and you have to answer a bunch of questions.
I'll get one of them right up.
I think we'll get both of them right.
8.818.
That's what I got. Okay, that took longer than I thought, but that's why you won't have too much on the calculator day, and you'll have, I think, plenty of time.
Algebraically.
At some point, you need to go work the evens, but I will post the video of the evens later, and you can check and see how it went.